Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here. We know it was a pretty quick turnaround from last time, so we're excited that you could make it. And if you couldn't make it last time, then we're happy you could make it today. That's why we wanted to give some more opportunities. And today's is going to be really special because we do have some special guests joining us from the Microsoft team that are just experts on everything hackathon and everything AI Innovation Challenge. So I would recommend sticking around and just listening to me talk for just a few minutes, and then we will switch it over to them. So, for those of you that may have forgotten, maybe you're just super busy, you are here today with Women in Cloud, and we are hosting the AI Innovation Challenge Hackathon 101. Just a session for you to ask some questions, maybe get to know your teammates, meet some people in the chat potentially. And we just want to make sure that you feel very prepared and that you also know why a hackathon can even be important for you and your career or your skill building, because spoiler alert, it is important. So today I just want to remind you that we do have a Q&A feature on this platform. So if you see over on the right side of your screen, there's a chat, a participant list, and there is a Q&A box. So please use that to ask questions. Sometimes they can get lost in the chat. And I see some of you are already using the chat. So can we just get a shout out from where everyone's joining us from? I know last time we had people from kind of all over the world. So where's everyone joining from today? I know I'm joining from Nebraska in the USA. So if you don't know where Nebraska is, I don't blame you. It's right in the center of the country. I see Long Beach, Seattle. The West Coast seems to always be very represented. Philippines, thank you. That is a big time difference. I commend you. Australia, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's 1 a.m. Hopefully you're a night person. The UK, Ukraine, thank you all so much for joining. So just a little background about this fall innovation challenge. This is an opportunity that Microsoft is looking to explore. We did do one of these previously with Microsoft, and they said, you know what, this is a great idea. Let's keep going. And so they really wanted to take the idea of that like short term, like 24, 48-hour hackathon, and they're expanding it to a 2-week opportunity. So you can utilize your skills. Maybe if you're newer to a hackathon situation, you can really test out what a hackathon is. Or, you know, life happens sometimes. So this will give you the opportunity to keep living your life and maybe not have to just book off 24 hours of your calendar to do a hackathon. This has a little bit more flexibility because you have a little bit longer of a timeline, which is awesome. And you will hear more from our guest about that. So just a quick overview. We talked about this, and I will link it in the chat when I finish talking, but there is some requirements to participate in this. So the biggest thing that's changed is it is open globally now, but projects must be submitted in English, Spanish, or Portuguese. And with it being open globally, it is up to you to communicate with your team. I know on WIC's end, we're going to try to make sure people are in similar time zones, but at the end of the day, you are in charge of that communication. The other big requirement is the trainings that are required, which we'll get into a little bit later, but it just has to be a Microsoft certification in data or AI, and we're looking for intermediate or advanced skills or those applied AI skill credentials that we've talked about before. And if you're like, no idea what you're talking about, I will link some information in the chat for you. So do not worry. This is a quick overview because I want you to get to the stars of today's show from Microsoft, because there are some amazing people that have some amazing insights for you. So again, the requirements, we said location, training, and then you have to be on a team. And don't worry, if you're not on a team, Women in Cloud can help you. And then that last big step that's really important is you need to be invited. You can't just wander onto the internet, onto a search engine and find this hackathon. You have to work with an organization like Women in Cloud, and we will send your info to Microsoft so they can invite you. This is just so we can really make sure that you're prepared, that you understand what you're getting involved with, and that we're really utilizing what this hackathon is about. So that is a very quick overview. Don't worry. Like I said, I will drop info in the chat. You didn't miss anything. If you're confused, that's okay. And if you already heard this and you're like, Marissa, move on, guess what? We're moving on. So today I'm so excited to announce that we have Matthew Calder and Manasi Sharma on the call with us. You might have seen them in the chat last time, but Manasi Sharma is a principal engineering manager at Microsoft, For more than a decade, she's been a dedicated full-stack engineer, passionate about building solutions that make a real-world impact. She has spearheaded the development of data-intensive web applications and large-scale microservices. As a strong advocate for diversity and inclusion in tech, Mansi is dedicated to empowering women in the field, which we at Women in Cloud, we love that. So thank you. And Matthew Calder is a senior go-to-market manager at Microsoft. He translates the voices of the customer into business opportunities. One way to describe his approach is that his favorite customers are the ones who complain because they care and they're eager to talk. Matt captures those insights to architect experiences that connect people with the knowledge and tools they need at each stage of their journeys. So that was a lot of info about them. As you can tell, they are the pros. We're here to learn from both of you. And I just want to start you off. I'll start you off with an easy question. Can you talk to us about specifically the AI Innovation Challenge and then hackathons in general, why they're important and like how they can be used as a tool in someone's career and learning journey?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. And so thank you for the introductions. Thank you for working with us. Thanks to everyone who showed up. I won't spend too much time talking about them because Mansi's actually got a much better story that proves why they're important. But I'll start with just hackathons in general. The innovation happens in the developer community by developers getting together and figuring stuff out and doing things and building things. I mean, the whole, movement and momentum behind open source is that it's in the nature of developers to get together and just increase everyone's capability and create new capabilities for people to do. And that happens at hackathons. Hackathons are also, I always encourage people, especially people who are sort of early in career or just switching their careers, to do hackathons because it's how you meet developers. It's how you open up opportunities. And going back to the words from my LinkedIn profile, which I hadn't thought about for a while, so thank you, Marissa. The complaints, the problems have been, hey, there's not enough opportunity to work on Azure AI. Our customers say it too, right? Azure customers say, hey, I can't hire people to do this. And so we want to get people the opportunity to get these skills and get exposed to our customers. For this particular hackathon, my goal and what I'm very busy at for the next couple of weeks is getting AI use cases from customers that people can hack on, so that you're getting some real world experience. And that, but Nancy, let me hand it over to you. Let's you can talk about like the pressure, the creativity, the working together. What have hackathons meant for your career?
So for me, it's an exciting, I would say, every time I hear like, oh, there's a hackathon, I just love that part. I remember the last time I was in a hackathon, I didn't sleep for 72 hours because I just wanted to make sure I have the best submission. And even when I was trying to sleep, I was waking up with the solution. So write in the chat if you guys have ever participated in a hackathon or in a project, and if you've not slept or like you woke up with a solution in your mind, because then you guys, we can totally resonate on. But just a little bit about like what's going to be more like engaging and powerful that you can take out of this hackathon. And in reality, from any hackathon is there are a couple of things here. You have your skill development that's happening, your resume that's getting built up. You get opportunity to network and collaborate with people from like all across, and especially with like an organization here, you're getting a ton of exposure to people from so many countries. So apart from portfolio building, career building, collaboration, and networking, there's also this aspect of innovation and creativity. And I do want to take out time to like emphasize on it. When we talk about innovation and creativity, I have participated in hackathons where I built things that ended up in production, and they still have about 100 million users. To imagine that you might develop something, you might patentize it, you might actually ship it to production. You never know. or you convert it into a startup. So the idea here is you leverage the best of the best here, you participate, you engage with people, you network with wonderful people like Matt, Marissa, but also everybody else in the chat, people who have showed up, demonstrate their ability to show up to things, to show up, and they want to collaborate with you. So I highly, highly encourage to take this opportunity as an innovation and creativity step in your career, and see how you can attempt to revolutionize the world. There are things that I will want to emphasize perhaps towards the later of the session on what you must include in your hackathon project. And that will really help you accelerate your submission. Like even if, let's say you have best of the best submission, representing it in the right form is extremely important. So I'll touch on that as well. But that's in a nutshell why hackathons. And then I'm really excited you guys are all here.
So I hope you all just got a little taste of all the information they have stored in their brains, because I am already so impressed. So please use the chat and the Q&A to ask them questions, because guess what? They can directly answer a question that you have. So I want to follow up. You talked about staying up overnight for a very long period. I know I haven't done that since my college days in my youth. But I'm curious if you all could speak to the benefits of this hackathon being a little bit longer than what we traditionally see hackathons as, because 2 weeks is not the typical thing that you see when you're looking at hackathons.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of debate about this on my team. There's one school of thought that says a hackathon has to be short and intense because that's how you learn. I'm like, well, that's great for us who have been writing code for a while, but I think that if this is your first hackathon or you're taking on something that is really hard, let's just go ahead and stretch it out for 2 weeks. People have day jobs. People might have to work on the weekends. They might have to work in the evenings. And I know for this group in particular, Chaitra and Marissa and friends really hammered home on me the fact that women have a particular, set of challenges on their time, just taking care of family and children and things like that. That is still just part of our culture, and it's real. And so let's, sort of stretch the time out. It also gives Microsoft people more time to jump in and help out. There's probably going to be like 20, 25 different Microsoft volunteers who volunteer as coaches during the hackathon. And, they might, their schedules get busy, right? But the goal is like get 30 minutes on their calendars so they can answer some questions and unblock. And so that's really specifically about the time frame. I think one of the hardest parts of the time frame is, where we are still pretty aggressive about jamming all the learning in fast is, we try to get everyone through all the certification prep and take the exam in under a month. And that's hard too. I think one thing that Manasi and I really want to talk about today is what could we do that would help you guys prepare? I'm going to put another couple links into material on Microsoft Learn where you can find all the information about what it takes to pass the exam. But, Manasi, we were talking about you could point people to a sample application so they can get started fast. Like here's something that's already kind of got the structure, the scaffolding, and then here's how you would add on to it. What are you thinking if we did what's your in your mind for a group of beginners or people who've done this once or twice? Where do you want to start them with AI? What were you thinking about teaching?
Yeah, so one of the resources that I direct people quite often to is Microsoft developer community videos on YouTube. There's also a lot of documentation that I can point you myself directly, but those videos will take you hand in hand and prepare a low code. They already have a low code repository available for you guys to build on top of it. The idea here is to encourage all of you guys to focus on the innovation part, focus on the AI sector, focus on what the hackathon is. So there are a lot of boilerplates that are available already through Microsoft, through our GitHub repository that's open source, through our, you can also watch our YouTube videos. It's called Microsoft Developer Community, and you'll probably see a lot of videos through that channel. And then they'll walk you through those scaffoldings, through those low-code repositories and how to set them up, And they're very short videos, like 5 to 10 minutes. The idea there is to get you started ASAP. So you focus on the bigger part of the picture than just like resetting and starting a new project and figuring out how to host it, things like that. Um, when we talk about like hackathons in general, there's a lot of like learning that is meant to come out from it. There's learning with respect to the technology, the goal of the hackathon, but then there's also like personal branding, personal learning that comes out of it. So I'll highly recommend you guys to like look into a lot of like learnings that Matt has posted in the chat. Those are very useful. They will help you accelerate your hackathon goals as well. There is one thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of your like hackathon submission, and I think now might be a good time. So
I just want to say, take notes, everyone. Okay, this is important. Your submission is very important for the hackathon.
Some of the things are like widely understood, like, hey, have your project name, all your teammates, overview, problem statement, all of that, like neatly, tightly coupled in there, like your tech stack, what you're trying to solve. But what I also highly recommend people, and the reason I'm telling this is like I personally judge more than 5 hackathons in the last 5 weeks. Apple Hacks, United Hacks. I'm judging NASA Space Hacks Hackathon on October 5th, a Hacker Noon, Hacker Earth in just last 5 weeks. So I'm really telling you the meat of the situation, how people submit submissions, and even having the best of the submissions, sometimes I'm not able to give them the best price. And trust me, these prices range from like $6,000 to $44,000. Like a lot of like amazing people join. So my tip here is make sure you have a good demo link and video. Make sure you link your GitHub repository. Some people submitted like in a 3-day hackathon, they submitted a GitHub link for like 2 years ago. So like I'm watching it, like do not submit old projects. It's your hackathon, write a new project. It's your innovation. You can build on top of something, that's fine, but it should have like some commit history of like, okay, you did something in this hackathon timeframe. So your GitHub link, your video, demo link video, I cannot emphasize enough on like having an extremely good detailed video, like probably save 1 day of your hackathon just for that, to have a representation. Sometimes you may not have like a full-fledged hackathon that like you were able to deliver what you wanted to, but if you have an idea that you still were able to articulate, that you're still able to articulate through that video, you're still a strong candidate and you have a lot of potential to win. When I talk about GitHub repository, there's another thing I want to mention. Include details how to run your project. If there's a technical person reviewing your GitHub repository, they might want to run your project. They might want to pull down things and see, does this actually work? Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that a project must run at the time of like submission, and then we want to see it running. Sometimes at the time of demos, we know things scrap. But also keep in mind, people who judge your hackathons are like extremely smart. They would be able to tweak things around to make things work. Just try to make sure like you have the best representation of your own work through those links. And then lastly, include like impact, use cases, and final thoughts, like where you want these things to go through. So that's like top of my mind when it comes to like hackathons.
I think that was beautiful. Everyone, give us a yes in the chat if you just took notes, because you should have been taking notes. And if you didn't, I'll send a follow-up email. But your notes are important. And I want to ask, so you mentioned like even if it doesn't go the way that you want and you have an idea, I see one of the Q&As is talking about maybe if you don't win a hackathon. Can you speak to how you can use a hackathon as like a career boost still, even if you don't win, or talk about like even if there's some failures, what you can do to still like turn in your project and like show the innovation and like the intention that you might have with it?
Yeah. So I'll take this one first, Matt.
Okay.
When you talk about innovation, there's a lot of things. And I know like all countries have their own patent offices. And especially if you're working in a cross-country team, you can always go to like multiple ones. You get that benefit. But the idea is like, if you have an idea that's unique, and it's not just unique, but like, let's say your tech is unique. Like, let's say you're still building something mainstream, but your technology is unique enough, that's where you are entitled to file for a patent. And that shows your original contribution when you write in your resume. You don't have to explain to people like, hey, what did I do in my hackathon? Well, I filed for a patent, and here's my unique individual contribution to it. Whether or not you get a patent is also secondary, of course, but having someone file and having actually working through, that's an amazing and exciting story. The other thing that I've done, people coming out of hackathons, is they write scholarly articles in like journals. So like you could have a Google Scholar profile. I know there are journals like IEEE who would publish your articles for $2,000, or there are like journals with high impact factor. They can probably publish your journal for like $50. But the idea is you get your work published out to more audience than just the one that was in the hackathon. So there are multiple ways to publicize your work, and all of that accrues to your branding, accrues to your technical branding, and how you build your profile. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think I would and you actually set pretty high bar. I mean, those are some awesome things that you can do. And you made me think about the little Microsoft patent cubes that people get for their office when they file patents that through Microsoft. But I think in kind of just everyone can do it, just and how it's helpful. So first of all, one thing is everyone that participates in the hackathon will get a Credly badge. This is something that you can share on your LinkedIn profile to show that you've participated in this hackathon. But I think that what I think about is the most important thing is, like, pretty soon you're going to be in a job interview. And this is an example of real world work that you've done where you're, working like a real developer. They're going to ask you, tell me about a project that did something. Honestly, even if your project, goes really badly and you hit failure after failure, you can't get anything done in 2 weeks, your team can't get along, how you dealt with that as a professional is a really important thing to be able to tell at an interview. If everything went great, be able to tell why it went great. What did you learn? What worked, right? As you're preparing for your next interview or your next promotion, you have these little stories about what you've done and how you've applied, the things that show on your resume. And so, I think this is just an opportunity for you to, build out your resume, build out your stories during an interview. I haven't figured it out yet, but I am talking to some organizations at Microsoft, like in HR and sort of our recruiting and things, so that I can sort of get more of a pipeline from our hackathon winners to Microsoft employment. I'm not there yet, but that is a goal, and that is one of the reasons that Microsoft does this. And then the other is that the companies that do put out their use cases and that want to participate in this, our customers, are also looking for talent. And it's just getting that exposure, getting that network, and learning from each other is what I would say that is. We've got more in the Q&A. Can we get through all this? We're kind of running out of time too. And I can go long. Nancy might not be able to. I think, Nancy, I'm going to put my email address in the chat, and so I'll stay late and get through some of the Q&A questions with the team. But do you have any specific questions that people can respond to in chat about, what might be helpful for if you're going to do like a office hours session, or even just a 90-minute, tutorial or something, or what kind of questions would help you figure out what you should be preparing for these folks?
Yeah, I think like the level of complexity or the level like folks are starting from, that'll help me understand like, hey, should I just jump to advanced level? And then some people might not have worked in this particular industry just yet, or like wouldn't have had exposure to the AI world just yet, right? So understanding that from this audience would really help me and Matt determine that what's the best way to basically just learn from all of you. Like, what's the best way to educate all of you on how to make the best use of this hackathon? So like if there's particular course that you would like us to deep dive into. I know Matt shared a couple of courses. If there's one that you would want us to deep dive into, if there are any basically anything that you feel like you want us to provide you with, we'll take that as a learning for on our side and determine like if we can mold that into a session or a readout or a office hours or like some reading material that's going to help you accelerate and focus on the creativity aspect of the hackathon.
Cool. Good. Thank you. Marissa, do you want me to just kind of go through what's in Q&A here?
Yeah, we definitely can. I think, Manasi, unless you have any other closing words, I know we are close to our time and Matt said he could stay a little bit longer. I think you've provided a lot of really good information. I think the last thing I might want to ask Manasi before maybe she jumps off is we do have a question talking about like picking a coach or an advisor. For Matt from like the operations logistics side and then Manasi from like the participant side, can you speak to what a team or an individual might look for and like trying to align with a coach or an advisor and like how they might be able to connect with even someone at Microsoft, Matt, like you mentioned?
Sure, I can do a demo real quick.
We love a good demo.
Yeah. Let's see. So it's looking for presentation. How do I do screen share? Wait, share. Yeah, got it. Okay. So this is the website from our last hackathon. Find advisors is this tab here. And you can sort of see, you can see their name, you can sort of see what skills they've got, what they're open to being asked about. The people that have their profile photos are Microsoft employees. That's because this is pulling from our Active Directory. The other folks are external folks who are trainers themselves, people who are very involved in the community, certainly worth reaching out to. Senior technical specialist, director specialist, these people, anyone who's volunteering is going to be open. Looking for account technical strategists are a good one to start with, right? These people are really senior and they work directly with customers on making technical decisions. Let's go with Kat. And so you can see these are her skills, what you can ask her about, interests. And you can mail her directly, start chat with her, see her on LinkedIn, see her GitHub stuff. I would, really, anyone, Srini is great. I'm looking through here, Steve, Jatin. The people who are volunteering here, honestly, are some of the strongest cloud solution architects, specialists, and account technical strategists that we've got. But this is sort of what you would put in here. And then when you, in your own profile, you also put in information about yourself and sort of what you want to learn, what your interests are in those things, right? So there's some matchmaking built into the platform itself. And that's sort of how you can look for people. And so it's, it's not a big obligation, right? If you start off with an advisor and they're not working for you, they can't help you, they can't find time, move to the next. There's plenty of people here to help out.
Just to add to that, I'm also a registered Microsoft Hackathon advisor. If you guys need some help, I take pride in helping people from all different sectors. So if you are an engineer already or an aspiring engineer, I'll be happy. And I'm sure everybody in that list will be extremely happy to help you out, provide you some pointers. But like Matt said, you can have as many advisors as you need. Take notes from like everybody, like learn as much as you can, take benefits of this hackathon through those people. And if at all you need, like, for example, any sort of like coaching or guidance with respect to the hackathon, Matt and I are here, Marissa is here. We can, of course, guide you to the right set of resources to help accelerate.
And just to give you some insight into how it works, like one of the winners actually of the last hackathon, they wanted to do something. They couldn't quite figure out how to do it because it was actually a preview feature of one of the technologies they were trying to use. They got in touch with one of the advisors who couldn't help them themselves, but he had a colleague that was actually interested in this specific thing. and was working with customers on it. And so she was so excited to talk to a bunch of people trying to hack on it. She made an hour for them, and she's like, okay, let's talk through this and figure it out. And so there's a network of people within Microsoft that care and want to just build some stuff and get away with something. So in terms of credentials, I'm just going to go through these real quick. Not quickly.
Yeah, I was about to say, we can thank you. That was amazing information. I think that's really helpful, because that was something we ran into last time, that people are, do I stick with one person? Like if this person doesn't respond, so just, it's meant to be like a collaboration. So no one's going to be upset if they find out you have 3 advisors. That's not what's going to happen. And I think that speaks to that first Q&A question. So we have the required credentials and certifications. Outside of that, what kind of skills have you seen be the most useful in a hackathon setting?
Use GitHub Copilot. Just point it at a repo of something that looks interesting, have it explain the code to you, ask it, give it the problem, ask it how it would break it up. Use GitHub Copilot. I really encourage it for a developer at any level, but I think particularly for early in career folks, it's powerful as a learning tool.
I think that's great. And kind of a follow-up on that, on skills, what have you seen certification wise be the most beneficial? And like, does someone have to be a coder, or what? Those certifications, they kind of span a larger range. Like, what has stood out as like a good one if someone doesn't know where to start with those required trainings?
You don't have to be a coder to participate in the hackathon, but I think it's going to, I would, if you're not a coder, I would focus just on those applied skills and pick one that has sort of a minimum amount of coding, and maybe coding that can be done with Python. So that at least you know what people are talking about when they're talking about coding. But in terms of what certification to get, AZ204 is a good one, because it covers all the stuff you have to do as a developer to make Azure work for you. And the other stuff you can kind of figure out. That being said, I think AI 102, there's actually not that much coding in it. And our AI tools tend to be, honestly, more about natural language these days. And so if you can do the AI tools and you're teamed up with someone that knows how to, get the database into Azure SQL and get the app onto app service, you'll probably do pretty well as a team.
I think that was really important information. I hope you all heard that. AZ204 is a great place to start if you're looking for that kind of overall, but there's a lot of other options. So you all should be taking notes. And I think we have another great question kind of on that skill side. Apart from using AI and a good use case, are there any other technical requirements that you should be considering while building a project?
Even though it's 2 weeks, there's still a time pressure, right? So how much you're going to have to learn to use these these technologies that you're trying to use. I think another good one is, and a lot of this is on me as the hackathon organizer. Be sure there's good data to play with, or that you have a good data source to work from. I don't know, Manasi, how would you answer this one? What do you need to know to be ready? What are the tools to have at hand other than Visual Studio Code? Good extensions? What do you want to?
Just any environment, like whatever tech stack you pick up. I know a lot of AI engineers prefer like Python, so just make sure like you have the latest version ready, one that's compatible with the rest of your tools. There are just too many tools outside today. Like even if it's VS Code, then you have all these extensions that'll come in handy, which will probably complete all your like code completion, like autocomplete and things like that. So really just have your environment ready within your PC, outside your PC as well. Like you really need to be in like a complete zone to deliver something super fast. I've seen people leveraging like a group GitHub repository, which a lot of people can contribute at the same time. So they're pushing different branches, making pull requests to the same exact repository. So make sure you set up one in advance. Everyone has access to. You might want to have like if you're intending to deploy that application, you would want to have shared environment variables. Do not store your environment variables in GitHub. That's a security flaw, but you want to share it with the people that are using the project. So like, you share it, like you upload it somewhere safer and it's cross reference within the team. Also, like try hosting your application well in advance, like maybe at the midpoint of your hackathon, try hosting your application and see like if that's another learning curve for you. Sometimes even the best of the best, like people who have worked in deployment and infrastructure, they need time to adjust to like a new set of software to be deployed, Dockerized, containerized, things like that. So take time to set everything in the pipeline. Even if things aren't working to the perfect match, make sure you go ahead and like have an ability to like run it through. Like I said, like if your GitHub must have it's amazing if your GitHub has like a setup and like running instructions, because it just shows like the work that you've done with like great pride.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that was our last big Q&A question. I did leave a note in the chat because people were very excited about that advisor site. That site is available for participants. So register at that link I sent you. And then once we go through the process and you get an official invitation from Microsoft, you'll be invited to the platform where you can access that site. So that's why you need to register and make sure you have all the right stuff. Which reach out to me at WICxCLOUDJOBS if you have any questions. I'm happy to guide you through the process or make sure you have everything you need. And I think to wrap up, since we've kind of made it through, we've already taken some extra time from you all, which we really appreciate. Can you speak to how important the team environment is and speak to maybe how to navigate collaboration with either like a brand new team you haven't met or even people you might be seasoned with, but hackathons bring out new personalities sometimes?
I'll go ahead and start, Manasi, if you want me to. Spend a little time up front planning and sort of dividing problems out. Get to know each other a little bit, and time you spend planning is going to pay off. Don't just jump right into doing. Maybe work in pairs of two. So work in 2 and 2 if you've got a team of 4. And then raise your hand, let the team know when you're having problems, and let your team know, sort of what your time commitment is, and any blockers there. So it's all about communication. And aside from that, it's just, let's respect each other, know that everyone is here to learn and do something great. And you win as a team. The prizes are awarded to a team. So
I'll share a little bit what has really helped me make extremely great bonds with a lot of my ex-hackathon partners. And mind you, they're all like CEOs, CTOs at amazing startups already. So I have great connections out of a hackathon. What really helped is like we used to have like daily like scrum stand-up sort of a meeting where everyone will share like whether it's in person, online, or however, everyone will share their updates. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm blogged on, which is extremely important to tell your teammates so they can give you some resources to get unblogged. But also we used to do like quick 5 to 10 minutes like coffee chat between like one-on-ones. So like I would meet, if it's a team of 5 across the 5 days, not every single day, I would meet a different person and have like a 5-minute coffee chat, like, hey, this is happening in my life. What's happening in your life? I don't know, like I have a 4-month-old, so I'm like super busy. I would share that, and like people would share something else. The idea is to share your like happiness and like even your sadness, like, hey, I'm going through this, like you might see me off today, but I'm going to bounce back tomorrow, or like, hey, I have this personal commitment come up. And that's one way to share and make everyone be excited about your life and share, like it's a the way I try to call it, it's a cross mentorship that you're doing through those 5 minutes. Like you're learning and you're giving away something as well. Of course, keep it time box. You don't want to like have like a chatty session all together. But just like I like to call them coffee chats. And then you strictly make it to the coffee time, like 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And then you talk to people, just know what they're doing, and then jump into your stand-up, be laser focused and like just working. So
I think that's a great tip, because I've definitely been in meetings where you just sit and chat and you're like, oh, it's been 30 minutes and we haven't done anything because we were all catching up. So I think building that actual like team foundation is really important. And I did fib a little bit. There is an excellent Q&A that I think we should address as a great wrap up for like the AI Innovation Challenge and all the information you all have shared. So I will speak to the teams real quick. Women in Cloud can help you find a team. I will say we will base it on like we are trusting what's submitted to us. So once you're assigned a team, it's your all's responsibility to communicate. Women in Cloud's not going to act as like a coach for each team, because we just don't have the people to do that. We would love to, but we're a very small team on Women in Cloud. So once you have that, it is your responsibility to communicate. And Manasi's idea is great. Like have those little coffee chats, get to know them, see where people are at, like how their day is going, and then focusing on the work. We encourage you to drop your LinkedIn and connect with each other in the chat right now, because this is a group of people that want to participate and want to learn and want to be a part of the hackathon. So this is a great place to start looking for a team if you don't have one already. And then with that, it's the same person. They asked, what exactly do I need to build according to the Microsoft Learning resources in order to develop a great application idea? Can you all speak to some of the things that make ideas and applications really stand out, especially for a Microsoft hackathon, and kind of maybe where people can start if they're kind of just have ideas everywhere?
I think so just the first thing that springs to mind is one of the challenges I put out last time was an accessibility challenge. And so I advise people like go look at reviews of products and see if what people complain about in terms of accessibility. And again, going back to my LinkedIn thing, I love people that complain. If people are complaining about a problem with something, go fix that. Go, if, blind people can't use it but want to, fix it. I think in terms of I'm looking up my rubric right now, if I can find it, on sort of how we do the scoring. But, there's basically like, does it work? So, sometimes just having code that does what you say it's going to do is all it takes. Did you go beyond just making it work and sort of indicate like what, is it more than just a proof of concept? Is it something that could actually get closer to production? That might be hard for you to assess from where you're at in your experience. But the innovation piece, so performance is 25% of it. Innovation is the second piece. Innovation is, are you doing something in a new way? Are you doing something that hasn't been done before? Is it technical innovation, or is it also business and process innovation? Just, get really creative. And, don't be afraid to break things. I mentioned responsible AI earlier in the chat. Do, acknowledge the tools that you're working with as AI tools that have some, responsibilities that go along with them. And the other one was breadth of Azure services. Do you use a bunch of different stuff, or do you just use, one little piece of Azure? Now, it doesn't have to be 100% Azure. And it would be pretty embarrassing if you used a bunch of the, competitors' services, but that's kind of inbounds, right? I mean, it's an open, platform that you can kind of connect everything together. That's the nature of the cloud. So, I'd say, and look at the open source community, see what people are, developer tools are an interesting thing to innovate on. If you take a developer tool and you want to make it better, the people maintaining the project on GitHub are probably going to be grateful, because no one can ever get enough help on GitHub. It's hard to be a maintainer. But also, the judges are a bunch of developers, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I see how this made this better. This is great. Let me pull this lever again. I don't know, Manasi, do you have anything better?
No, I think you covered pretty much like all of it, Matt. I know I need to drop, but I posted one message in the chat. One of my best memories of the hackathon are the pictures that I've taken, and that's how I remember those people, like even 15 years later. So make sure you take like group pictures and take 10 of them. Make like a beautiful collage for your memories. Post them on LinkedIn. Tag Matt, Marissa, myself. We'll be happy to learn your journey, how the hackathon went, and then if there were like things you want to emphasize about like your like learning, your networking, your collaboration, your one-on-one mentoring, I don't know how that went, your coffee chats, we would be very happy to learn about it. Yeah,
and anything you can do to feel that you're part of this community, because you are. There's people in the developer world who are here to help you, and that's why we're coming together.
I think this was just a gold mine of information. Thank you both so much. Can we just get some thank yous for both of them in the chat and some claps, whatever you want to do to show your appreciation? I took away that we need to break things and complain. I'm just kidding. There was much better information. Those were just important notes, because it is okay to do that. Sometimes you've got to work through the brainstorming to really find what you're looking to do. But I'm expecting to see all of those names register for the hackathon, and then I'll be sending those names and emails to Matt when the teams are formed. So please, you all, just give all the thanks to them, and know that you are more than welcome, as they have already said a few times, to connect with both of them. We will switch back over to that kind of table seating. I encourage you all for a little bit to talk to each other. Maybe you'll find a teammate or two here today, or you'll find people who know people. You'll find a good connection for people who have the same ideas. But yes, please talk to each other, connect with Matt and Manasi on LinkedIn, and just know we have a lot of resources and we want to see you succeed. That is the goal. I want you to make it hard for Microsoft to choose who the winner is, because you all are so amazing. So thank you all so much. And thank you for the extra time. We really appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cool.